Hey folks, welcome to another exciting edition of Mr. V Teaches Math. Today we're going to look at, folks, we're going to carry on with this idea of adding integers together to see where we end off. I'm going to show you two more strategies to add these numbers together. So I have a bunch of stuff written out here. Our goal obviously is to add integers using these various strategies. The first example that I'm going to show you is actually it's going to be using a number line to add integers together. And so there's a couple of steps that you have to understand when you're going to be adding these numbers together. The first thing is that you're going to start at 0. So for this question here, positive 3 plus negative 2, I'm going to start at 0. Okay, I'm using my red pen. And so using my writing utensil, I'm going to draw an arrow to the first number. Well, the first number in my problem is positive 3. So I'm going to draw an arrow from 0 to positive 3 like this. And that's where I'm going to end off. That's my second step is done. The second thing that I'm going to do, and you don't have to use a red pen and a blue pen to do this. You'll get the same answer using a pencil. What I'm going to choose to do is now I'm going to add on that negative 2. So here's how it works. From where I left off, which is at positive 3, I'm going to draw an arrow 2 units. So it's 1, 2. And wherever I end off, which happens to be right here, that's my answer. So positive 3 plus negative 2 equals positive 1. Okay? So, to get away from the red pen, blue pen thing, this looks kind of weird. It's actually negative 5. So again, I start at 0. I'm going to draw my arrow all the way over to negative 5. And then from negative 5, I'm going to go 2 back to the right, because I have to add on positive 2. When I go to the right, that means positive number. And wherever I end off, which happens to be right here, so my answer is negative 3. So negative 5 plus positive 2 equals negative 3. Lastly, I have this problem, which is positive 2 plus negative 2. Now hopefully there are like flash bulbs going off in your head saying like, hey, those are opposite numbers. I know the answer to this because when I add opposite numbers together, I just get 0. And you'd be right. So just to show it out, start at 0, go to positive 2, start at positive 2, go back to 0. So I go 2 to the right and then 2 to the left, because 2 to the right, 2 to the left. So my answer here is just 0. Okay? And so that's the first strategy of using a number line to add integers. Good way to do that. Number lines work really well on numbers that are like that are like 10 or less. So they're good for smaller numbers. When you start getting to some bigger problems, let's say we have something like positive 18 plus negative 23 plus negative 31 plus positive 21 plus positive 13, number line gets a little trickier. Okay? And so what I would say for this one, what I would encourage you to do, is do some regrouping. And what we do on the regrouping is, what I did is I wrote all the positive numbers together, and then I wrote all the negative numbers together. When I add those numbers, all those positive numbers together, I get positive 52. And then when I add these two negative numbers together, I get negative 54. Now this suddenly is a little bit more workable, because here's what I can do. I can keep positive 52, and then I can actually split up negative 54 into negative 52 and negative 2. Like when I put them together, I still get this, but if I can split it up, I can create a 0 pair, okay, using these opposite numbers. Because I know that regardless of the fact that it's positive 52 and negative 52, I know that I put them together, I still get 0. So I still have this negative 2 left over here, which is what my answer is. So all that stuff just equals negative 2. I use lots of brackets. Lastly, so this is good for kind of like smaller 2-digit numbers up to the mid 50s. Try and make a 0 pair if you can. Lastly, if I get big numbers like this is what I bust out. I use my trusted calculator. Okay, I use one that has a sign change key. On this calculator, it's right here. The sign change key looks like this. There's a plus and a slash and a minus. Okay, now most calculators are similar. Some of them are a little bit different, and depending on what you actually have to type in. For my calculator, what I have to do for this is I would type in 379 plus 106, but then I have to press the plus minus button to make it negative, and then I have to add on another negative 241, which actually is going to end up giving me 32. So the answer to that big question is actually just positive 32. Okay, so when I get into 3-digit numbers, it's probably a good idea to be able to use your calculator. On a test, I would expect to be able to say to you, show me integer addition using counters, or show me integer addition using a number line, or show me integer addition using a regrouping strategy. I would expect that you're able to do that. But anyway, those are some strategies to add integers, and the practice in the textbook that you're going to be working on is going to ask you to do some of those things. So have a great night, and we'll work on some of the stuff tomorrow.